Esteemed audience, good afternoon. Mr. President, I thank you for the kind words. I congratulate all of us on our decision to be peacemakers, because this is the fundamental thing that is required by the world today. The nefarious activities of the violent extremists have indeed brought us to a situation which I always call I don't know. The tripartite of the killed, the killer, and the living are in a situation of I don't know. If a violent extremist is to be asked today, why did you kill so and so in Brussels, in the US, in London, in Iran, in Tarelia? The answer will be, I don't know. What offense did the person whom you have killed commit? The answer will be, I don't know the offense they committed. And if the killed were to be asked, why were you killed? What offense did you commit that prompted your killing? The answer will be, I don't know. If the living, for instance, if any of us today were to be asked, are you safe wherever you go today in the world? The answer will be, I don't know. Therefore, this is a very critical situation we have found ourselves, courtesy of the nefarious activities of the violent extremists. I thank the organizers of this conference for giving me this opportunity to contribute in relation to this topic. My contribution, because of time constraint, will center on who are the violent extremists. What are their characteristics? What causes them to be in existence? I mean, why do we have them? Then, lastly, I will talk on the way forward. Nowadays, due to the seemingly intractable activities of violent extremists, no one is safe across the globe. International security has become almost meaningless. Presently, religious extremism is the main driver of terrorism across the globe. Who is a religious extremist? A religious extremist is a person who is self-righteous and has gone too far in religious issues. The Quran says, Ya Ahlul Kitabi la taghlu fi dinikum. O you family of the book, do not go extreme in the affairs of religion. This fundamentally signifies to us that the violent extremists have indeed contradicted the teachings and the tenets of the religion itself. Now, some of their characteristics are: the extremists think that they know the truth about their religion and no one else does. This is one of their characteristics. They think that they are the only ones who know the truth about the religion they practice, and no one else does. Second characteristic, second feature of them is that they don't have enough knowledge of the religion. pick them one by one, you will notice that they don't have sufficient knowledge of the religion. They only have the surface part of the knowledge of the religion they practice. They have certainty that they are right on any religious issue, which is very, very wrong. They dehumanize any person whose view on any issue is at variance with theirs. This gives them a sense that they have the right to insult, harm, and kill others. Nowadays, they have even gotten elevation in their devilish act. That is, they even kill themselves. Hitherto, they were killing innocent souls. But today, violent extremists kill even themselves through suicide bombing. They have very insignificant focus on the importance of this life. They focus mainly on the life after death. They don't know that this is the life where one is expected to plant the seed of a very, very good life eternally. They think that there is compulsion in matters of religion, contrary to a Quranic injunction that says, La ikraha fid din, no compulsion in a religion. Causes of violent extremism: lack of proper knowledge of one's religion and selfish desires. Violent extremists can be broadly divided into two: those who don't know the religion properly, and those who know the religion but they are being driven by selfish desire. They harm people who practice any religion other than theirs. No matter how pious you are, if you are practicing a religion that is contrary to theirs, you will be harmed by them. They have no respect for the sanctity of human life, contrary to the Quranic injunction, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, مِنَ أَجْلِ ذَلِكَ كَتَبْنَا عَلَى بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ أَنَّهُ مَنْ قَتَلَ نَفْسًا بِغَيْرِ نَفْسٍ أَوْ فَسَادٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ فَكَأَنَّمَا قَتَلَ النَّاسَ جَمِيعًا. Al-Ayah. The Quran says, whoever kills a single innocent soul, their sin will be as if they have subjected the entire humanity to extinction. But in spite of that, they kill innocent souls. They lack the spirit of treating all human beings with good conduct. Islam encourages Muslims to treat all and sundry, regardless of any difference, with good conduct. The Messenger of Allah says, Ahibba linnasi ma tuhibbu li nafsik takun musliman. Love for mankind what you love for yourself. Resultantly, you would be a good Muslim. But the extremists don't do that. They lack the spirit of forgiveness. They lack mercy for all humans except those who share the same ideology with them. They disrespect constituted authorities. They take laws into their hands. They fail to repel bad with good. Whenever they are offended, instead of them to repel the bad behavior with good behavior, they fail to do that, contrary to a Quranic injunction, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, idfa billati hiya ahsan fa izallazi bainaka wa bainahu adawatun ka'annahu waliyyun hamim. That whenever a bad conduct is exhibited towards you, repel it with an excellent one. This is one aspect. I mean, lack of knowledge concerning the religion itself is one of the causes of violent extremism. That is why the first injunction in the Holy Quran is Iqra, read, study, read. Now, second cause, Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Is it religious or land dispute? The international community should make painstaking effort to educate humanity as a whole today whether the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is religious or is a conflict over land. Because many people think that it is a religious dispute. That is why whenever you are not in support of the people they support in relation to the dispute between the Israelis and the Palestinians, you will be targeted by them. And this is attributable to the fact that the international community has done a little in educating the people of today concerning the dispute between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Also, failure of the international community and the United Nations to amicably resolve the conflict, that is, the inability of the United Nations and the international community to resolve amicably the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is also another factor that causes violent extremism. Lack of industrialization in the Middle East region. Violent extremism undoubtedly originated from the Middle East. Very unfortunately, the Middle East youths are very, very idle for two reasons. The region is divided into two: wealthy and vulnerable countries, but neither has solved the problem of idleness. Their young people either do not need to work because of being very rich, or they have no job opportunities. They are then idle, hence they may embrace extremist ideologies and eventually go to the battlefields due to idleness. Remember, the devil finds a work for idle hands to do. Lack of coordinated regional powers in the Middle East region. External forces cannot necessarily defeat a local enemy deeply seated at home. The quartet of Egypt, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey should be taken as the four major Middle East regional powers. Their cooperation and coordination are very crucial in the fight against violent extremism. Unfortunately, the aforementioned countries are either in domestic problems like Egypt, that has prevented her from playing a capable role in the fight against terrorism, or are enemies, for instance, Saudi Arabia and Iran. Turkey is considered presently by many countries of the Middle East as a country that is planning to redominate the region as it did in the past. Therefore, there is lack of cooperation and coordination among the countries of the Middle East. That is why the border of terrorism is very, very porous in the Middle East. Lack of good governance in many countries, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa and the Middle East. The governments predominantly are considered to be corrupt. Hence, the lead in many of the countries of the sub-Saharan African continent, sub-Saharan Africa and the Middle East are very, very unhappy with the state because the governments have grossly failed to provide social amenities for the late, particularly the youth. That is why the youth in sub-Saharan Africa and the Middle East are very, very unhappy with the state. This makes the government to hate the state due to lack of basic necessities of life and apparent corruption. Makes the government to be in perpetual anger and consequently become wicked. It makes the government to disrespect the laws of their country. If many countries today were to support terrorism, many terrorists will now support peace. They are violent extremists consequent upon the presence of lack of governance in their countries. So they always try to disrespect the authorities of their various countries. Way forward. Countering violent extremism should be about targeting ideology more than individuals. One bullet kills an individual, but no amount of it can kill an ideology. If there is any war, it should be a collective and universal war against violent extremism through education, information, and speaking the truth against the dastardly and inhuman acts of the extremists. This should be done expeditiously. If the head of a snake is cut off swiftly, the fear of its venom will be absent. This is premised on the fact that in many countries, the extremists push a radical perspective and brainwash the youth in taking an aggressive stance. This is done in many schools and mosques. To counter this trend, schools and mosques should be established and placed under the custodianship of tested peace-loving scholars. They should also be free from direct religious intervention. This will go a long way in inculcating in the youths the proper teachings and tenets of Islam. Undoubtedly, those who hate peace have really prepared. Therefore, those who love peace should prepare more than their adversaries for the world to secure peace. Conclusion. For peace to reign in our world of today, it is imperative for all and sundry to stop placing emphasis on religious, racial, ethnic, and continental differences with a view to promoting socio-cultural integration as members of one family, the human family. I commend the Global Peace Foundation for the conceptualization of a campaign tagged One Family Under God. The campaign seeks the promotion and sustenance of social cohesion among all members of the human family. Thank you.